Hello, this is the Studio 143 podcast. I'm Luke, and this is our co-star, Sean.
Hello.
Today, we will be reviewing the new Future album, Hendrix, and the new Ed Sheeran album, Divide. Let's start off with the new Future. So, what are your thoughts?
I think that Hendrix was okay. And I know we're not talking about his self-titled album, but his self-titled album, in my opinion, was SoundCloud rap. That's pretty. I know it's a pretty big opinion there.
For the record, for everyone listening, we were originally going to review Hendrix and self-titled, but we originally decided not to do self-titled because we both agreed early before the recording session that it would just be us shrugging our shoulders and saying it was a boring release.
Yeah.
So.
I think that Hendrix was all right. I think it had a lot of diversity on there. A lot of it really kept us it was more than what his self-titled album was, which was just him rambling stuff over 808 samples and just is the same drum line for 20 songs. I had a headache.
I feel like Hendrix is a much better leap forward than on self-titled, and I feel like a lot of my appreciation comes from just him not necessarily reviving the sound, but doing it in a way that seems new and fresh. Because most of the sounds in this album are basically ripping off House of Balloons or taking something from a very similar route, House of Balloons by The Weeknd.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I don't blame him for that because that was a very influential mixtape, and it's probably all major rap releases, or at least trap rap releases, have some traces of it in its DNA.
That's true.
So, but I mean, it's a good release. I originally thought it was great, but because I was just so desperate for a good Future release after
after self-titled.
Yeah, that was dismal. But I've sort of grown down on it. I think it's still a good release, but I don't think it's one of Future's best. I think I would rank DS2 as his best release at this point. I feel like as an MC, Future is still kind of lacking, in my opinion. He's still not the best lyricist at all, and I think
I don't think his lyrics are anything to even talk about. His voice is just like an instrument, and it's not a good instrument.
Occasionally and I think on certain parts of Hendrix or certain points on Use Me, where he's just really trying to make something that he knows can't happen with his vocals.
Yeah.
His tools up for you till you owes me. It's just and I mean, there are other moments where I think a song will be going really great, like on Coming On Strong with The Weeknd, and where Weeknd's verse is good, the production is great, and then he tries to do The Weeknd's refrain with the "Let's be out of your mind, do you know who I am?" He's like, "Let's be out of your mind." It's just
and just the thing that Future's made himself he's prided himself upon is this mumble rap over auto-tune, which I personally I don't enjoy that in the first place. So just that's the entire premise, the entire reason people like Future. I don't even appreciate that part. It's
and I don't hate trap as a whole. I think there are some artists for example, Migos, who they're really special because they have the group flow managed.
There's a good style there. Yeah. They have there's a lot of good stylish trap music. I'd argue even Young Thug has some style going for him.
Oh, definitely. And
the Future, I just don't see any. I mean, he had some style when he began, but he's just it's become ingrown and just he's making the same stuff over and over again at this point.
Well, I mean, as far as a stylistic change of pace, I'd say that, I think he hasn't really tried anything as lush as Hendrix in the past. He's tried things that have been psychedelic and tried things that have been more low-key, but mostly he's done more rather upbeat trap music.
Yeah.
But this is more laid back, more contemporary R&B kind of almost. I feel, and the style, and again, it's mostly takes its influence from House of Balloons, but it's a style that I think he does justice. And over these beats, I feel like he, as a vocalist, is working much better than on self-titled. I feel like he's much more comfortable. It more fits in with his vocals and doesn't feel like he's overstepping his boundaries.
Even on the first track, I could actually hear what he was saying, which was a major improvement already from the entirety of self-titled.
When self-titled, he was trying to create a lot of bangers.
Yeah, I could tell that was his banger album. I feel like that's his radio-friendly album. He's trying to put all his different stuff on Hendrix. Because he's a prolific guy. He has a lot of material.
There were some good maybe upbeat singles on Hendrix at least with
on Hendrix there definitely were as well.
there was the one Rihanna feature that I thought was really good. I forgot what the song was called, but it was like I'll need to look it up in a bit. And then there was also Incredible, which also features this like more not banger beat, but more like those really interesting like catchy sub bass.
Yeah.
And not just like trap percussion, but more like snappy, like really catchy. Just I think he's more honing in on what makes like a good Future banger like actually great. He's beginning to know his own strengths.
Playing into his style.
And that's what I feel like is the best thing I can say about Hendrix. It's an album that hones in on Future's strengths while his normal cliches, normal flaws are also here as they've been. I think they're less prominent on something like Self-Titled or on something like Evol.
They're definitely I agree with you on that. I feel like Future's like even Future's not bangers are bangers by any other standards, but by Future standards they're not bangers because he takes banger to like a whole new level. But I concur with you on that.
And the banger for what it's worth, the bangers on here on Hendrix are like Incredible, for example, are much better, or even like Looking Exotic, are much better than the best of the bangers like Draco on Self-Titled. I mean, that was it's just kind of ironic because
I hated Draco for the record.
For real?
Yeah, it was like my least favorite song. That was the one with like the awful hook on it, right?
No, I'm not sure. That was the one with like the really like catchy synth melody that really like.
There was one where it was just this hook and it gave me a headache. But this is semantics.
Yeah, let me look up the one track just so I can get you back on the Rihanna feature. It was Selfish. Okay.
Selfish. Yeah, what were your favorite tracks on Hendrix?
Favorite tracks. Okay, definitely coming out. Well, I would say coming out strong, but I feel like everything about it I love except for Future's verse on that. I'm gonna say My Collection, Incredible, and Selfish. My Collection especially because that was the moment because it was the first moment where I began to like, oh, he's doing something different now. And it was just probably the best opener I could have hoped for in that situation.
I liked My Collection as well. I liked Fresh Air a lot. I thought Fresh Air was really good.
I feel like Sorry was filled with the average lyrical cliche of, I messed up, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the beat behind it, and it made it feel like he was actually trying there. So I feel like that's an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Hallucinating also had the good same type where it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of generic lyrics, but they had a really nice, like, slick beat.
Yeah, and he has a lot of, that's where he plays into his strengths. He has this good flow going. His lyrics at that point, like, they're irrelevant to the song. It's just him, like, mastering it, like, his mastery of his flow.
So, what were your favorites?
My favorites, I said,
you said
My Collection,
Fresh Air, but was there anything else besides that? Like,
and My Collection.
Yeah.
But it was, like, the two that really stood out to me.
All right. And this is a long album, and I hope for the love of God that he doesn't release another hour-long album or 17 tracks.
He can't do that.
He can't do
that.
He
should have just made 3 albums.
I mean, and there is enough stuff here for maybe one album and an EP or two EPs, maybe even 2 albums if he really tries. But it's just like the Future way and many points now, the Gucci Mane way and the Migos way has always been quantity over quality, and I feel like that's been the case with a lot of his like past mixtapes like Purple Rain and Self-Titled. But I feel like if he manages to actually play to his strengths instead of just going off on like generic trap rap, I feel like he can truly build up a legacy right now. Because right now,
he's pretty big. I think he could really be a staple like rapper for a generation if he really like puts his head down and starts doing some actual good music.
I mean, one of the things that I've seen, before like last year, was that for a while I thought like, oh, he's gonna be non-essential, but he's popular obviously. But like as opposed to like someone, and I hate to use this after this example after how his last album was absolutely dreadful, but Drake, he had actually a style going for him, and I can say safely in 5-10 years we're gonna look at his work as influential. I mean, before views, good Lord, Jesus Christ.
I'm like probably Drake's #1 critic, so I'm not even gonna talk about Drake right now.
I've liked some of his work in the past, but he can just be dreadfully irritating at times, especially on all the singles he's released from More Life. Just good Lord, we're going on a tangent here.
What
would you give it as a verdict? Like
verdict, I'd give Hendrix like a 5.5 out of 10 or 55 out of 100. I thought it had some pretty big strong points on there, but like just the classic Future stuff that just personally I can't stand. And then I'd give I don't feel even comfortable rating his self-titled album. If we're gonna go ahead and rate that.
I'd give. I mean, I have a rating. But I'm gonna stick with that pledge also, just so we're consistent here.
Yeah.
Because I was not a big fan of that either. I thought that there were high points, but it's just like 17 tracks. And I know you are in fact a master trapper. I'm aware.
A super trapper.
Yes.
A super troopers reference. I don't even know. That was just funny.
I don't know. For all the wrong reasons.
It's cringe. Okay,
Anyways, let's get into
tangent.
something that we're gonna have a bit more to chew on with. Let's get into the new Ed Sheeran on this.
The next up and coming rapper.
Yes, indeed. Oh god. And for the record, I haven't hated him in the past. I thought that I didn't like his first album, but I mean, at least he had some really strong singles like Speaking Out, like Thinking Out Loud on X. I feel like it was more of him moving towards pop rock as opposed to like mix of hip hop and folk on his first album, which I feel like he had a more coherent sound going, even if the sound wasn't more strictly interesting. I don't know what to say about this. This album isn't like consistently terrible, but it's definitely a drop in quality and a drop in like his just general image and what I look for in a Sheeran album.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just immediately just thrown out of like anything. Like just when I heard him rapping in the beginning, it just hurt me.
Oh god!
Because like you can't. It's just like that style works for people sometimes, but that style does not work for him. And his flow is messy. It's like
his flow, and he has a good singing voice.
He has a great singing voice.
So it's just like his rapping feels entirely forced, and it's a shame because it's all there's a lot of rapping on here. I'm about to say not half, but like a third of the tracks he raps on, and all of the worst tracks on this album feature his rap style.
Yeah, and if he was singing on that, I wouldn't have had a problem with that track. It was good otherwise. I thought the production on that album is something else, but I thought the production on that song was all right.
Yeah.
But if you weren't rapping, I thought that'd be like a 5 out of 10 song.
I wasn't completely like thrown out of the blue by the rapping. I thought that it was a decent song. I feel like although the lyrics were interesting, at least in this song, because he talks about
that's a whole other. Yeah, we'll get into that later.
This song only. The rest is that's something else. But he at least had a coherent theme of like struggles in the music industry. I mean,
okay, yeah.
I wonder how much of that is actually like the label saying, do the 10-day thing where you're rapping about like resentment for organizations. So it's just like it's kind of like like you can't. I find an inherent contradiction to like complaining about labels when this is literally like the most popular album
the label
in the world.
The label made this album.
Yeah,
like Ed Sheeran's. You hear his voice on it, and maybe he's playing guitar, but like I can tell like some lawyer was writing his lyrics for him.
This is not an album that I feel he wanted to make, sadly.
Yeah.
And I feel like he has a lot of potential as an artist, honestly, and he's just falling into so many pitfalls and like leashes with this. But I mean, the thing that I should have hated, but I actually kind of liked a lot, was Castle on a Hill, the next song, which I felt like that is where he's playing more to his strengths. He has
I like that song as well.
And I mean, it feels like this is a song that is going to fill stadiums. This is going to be the arena rock song of the year, probably. It is.
Yeah, I was like, I really like that song, but then it got into the chorus, and I was like, I don't know what happened with that chorus, but it just felt like is lacking.
I like the chorus. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel maybe that's just me, but
more so, I feel like the lyrics I'll get into the rest of the album. I'll get into later. But I feel like here also it's more tolerable because he's talking about nostalgia and childhood in a way that doesn't seem forced. It feels like he's comfortable with what he's talking about, and he feels like he's speaking from experience. I like that. I feel that that's the best thing he has going for him when he speaks from a place of sincerity, which slides into immediately the next track, Dive, which is just one of possibly a slew of just bland, uninspiring ballads on this album. Good Lord. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it has no defining characteristics whatsoever.
I was happy because at least there was like instrumentation that wasn't overproduced.
Yeah.
It was like they had a real drum kit going on there, and it felt like nice. It was pretty stripped down, which I liked about, because like all of these other songs are just like wall of sound, like loudness wars times 10, painful headache. But like I don't know, I thought
most of these are ballads, but
it was more downbeat, and it was more like just like relaxed. I liked. I could appreciate.
I wouldn't
that
call the rest of the songs overproduced. I'd say that it's definitely irritating to hear like guitars over like drum machines. It's just like
Yeah.
But I mean, Castle on the Hill, the biggest thing I had wrong with it, because the lead guitars and everything was really interesting in that song, but it had that, like, I would have substituted for live drums. That would have made the song so much better. But yes,
Yep.
it is. Castle on the Hill is pretty great.
Yep.
But then we lead into possibly the biggest single to come off of this album, Shape of You, which
The title of it is already bad.
this was focus grouped. This this I can hear like the echoes of Kygo or Calvin Harris on this. This is like just generic tropical house, and I mean the beat is okay. It's a bit catchy. It's something that it's tolerable.
Just painfully generic.
But it's something that I think will play in like the background of an American Apparel.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
You'll hear it
rest in
everywhere.
peace.
It'll just be.
Rest in peace, American Apparel. Actually, no, rest in pieces. They had really horrible ad campaigns.
When I was 6 years old, I broke my leg.
So, the next song, Perfect. It's anything but. It's another just generic, endless, just I don't know what to say about this. When I say almost every ballad that's attempted on this album is pretty ridiculous as far as how bland it is. We have Perfect, which there are strings on this track.
I like the strings, honestly.
But it
sounded like a Cat Stevens song or something.
It's not like strings that feel like they're the centerpiece of a song. It feels like, we have strings, so we're going to put them in.
They put them in like the background. It just like, it sounded like they were trying really hard to be like a Cat Stevens song or something, but then they like contemporarized it with like, just like all these overproduced like guitars and voices and stuff. And I was like, just kind of confused. Okay. I don't think that's how I'm supposed to feel.
And then, so we'll address the tired ballads in a roundup later.
Yep.
But now we have to get into possibly, maybe at this point, my least favorite song of the year. My least favorite song of the year before this was Death Spiral by Dirty Projectors. And that sucks because that was actually a band that I like a lot. But the worst song of the year so far has got to be Galway Girl.
Oh, was that the Celtic one?
That was the one.
that song just made no sense to me. The Irish in me was just hurting.
I know. It was just like, okay, I'm white, and I'm not going to be able to say like, oh, this is cultural appropriation, because there are actually issues of cultural appropriation. But let me just say, people of color, if this is probably 1/100th of what you feel whenever like Miley Cyrus, someone wears like an Indian headdress, this is like probably 1/100th of that, and it feels painful. So for people of color who actually go through cultural appropriation, I respect you, because this something that's not even tangentially associated with that is insufferable.
Yeah,
this is just like this. I was listening to this album with my sister, and she raised a very important point, which was, what is this track going for? What is it trying to prove?
Who is this appealing to? Like,
what is it trying to prove? Like, what? I mean, he's obviously going for something that's a mix of like trying to cheekily poke at like Irish music, but it's just like, it's completely ineffective. It's mixing hip hop in a really terrible way.
It is.
The lyrics are just cheesy as hell, and literally plays all the tropes of like, woo, this is Ireland.
I just feel like it's like, I feel like it's like the Beatles' trip to India, but like Ed Sheeran's trip to Ireland, and he probably didn't even go to Ireland.
at least the Beatles got something out of it, maybe. Yeah. But it's just like, this is just horrendous. My God.
Like, I don't know what he's trying to he's trying to start a trend with that or something, right. But like, Gaelic music does not combine with like contemporary hip hop and pop in any way whatsoever.
I know. It's just the more I focus on this track, the more headachy I get. So let's just focus on to generic ballad number 3, Happier. And here, the thing about this ballad is, I would have nothing to say about this interesting. However, it's just that how much it matches up with the track after it, New Man. Because these songs are two halves of the same coin. Because on Happier, we have it saying, oh, you're happier with this new person, and I screwed up really bad. Oh, man, please forgive me. I love you. And then on New Man, he's completely like trashing this new boyfriend and saying like, oh, well, look at him. He's just working out 6 times a day. Patrick, our Kurtap, our sound guy, is waving to us, showing us the Dropkick Murphys on iTunes for something I have no idea.
I think he's trying to prove that they're a successful Gaelic pop band. I don't know if that's like at all.
Okay, bands come from Ireland, like U2 and My Bloody Valentine and Van Morrison and 10,000.
Well, they're like alternative rock. Ed Sheeran was trying to make like hip hop.
Yeah, but it's just like, and I mean...
Well, hi, I'm Pat the Sound Guy. Dropkick Murphys are a hip hop Gaelic band, so
Okay,
What?
are they good?
They're okay.
I know.
They're okay. And I mean, like, listen, I mean, there's something with, like, sincere, like, Celtic music, like the Pogues, which is legitimately, like, great, which he could have made, like, a song that borrows from, like, Celtic music, which I would enjoy. But nope.
Yeah, no, he really butchered that.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But, I mean, it's just, like, back to what I was saying with Happier. Happier and New Man are really irritating because one's like, yeah, I'm sad that you left me, but you seem to be happier, so that's all right. And then New Man is like just really insulting and condescending to this new like boyfriend, and he talks about how insufferable he is and how he's on like a new diet. Okay, and here's the other part, the one that really struck out to me, and he owns every Ministry CD. Is Ministry relevant at all in our new decade? There are industrial rock groups that have been relevant. I think, but it's
I think this plays exactly right into what I was going to talk about because we're running a bit low on time. Just one last thing before we get into just the overall lyrics is just the amount of times Ed Sheeran references bars. He's in a bar every single one of these songs.
God.
Every song, he just happens to be in a bar. I don't know, like, I think bars are, like, paying him, okay, but, like, I think that's, like, the demographic he's trying to, like, appeal to is, like, these country heads that are, like, living in rural areas and like listening to that band, which the name escapes me, and like going to bars all the time and like listening to like rip off country music. I feel like that's what he's trying to make.
Well, no, Ministry is this industrial rock group from like the 80s. They're not like country.
Oh,
They're this just like I'm trying to make a point that they were like kind of edgy. But not as like edgy as like Marilyn Manson or something. But they were trying to be pseudo edge, not like edgy. But there are industrial rock groups which have had an impact on the sounds of pop rock and the sounds of rock music in the scope of world music. I think that's respectful. But Ministry is completely irrelevant in the year of our Lord 2017.
Yeah.
But and this is just besides that, it's just like a complete like. Just contradiction to the first song where it's like, yeah, well, you're happier with this one person, so it's okay. It's completely like a mess.
Yeah.
And they're to cap off the one discussion on the ballads, the only good ballad on this record is the last one, Supermarket Flowers, about his mom. I feel like this is one that's actually sincere and actually
there's
like,
at least like a little personality there.
I like that song, but it's just like everything's
still overproduced. Yeah. The production on this, I think, personally, is exactly how not to produce an album.
Yeah.
But, okay, just digressing. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Let's get into the lyrics for, like, 3 minutes. These are the cringiest things I've ever witnessed.
God. Okay, so the song Hearts Don't Break Around Here. Take a look at that and read it off to me, because I am still reeling that he wrote that out.
Wait, which one?
Hearts Don't Break Around Here.
Hearts Don't... I don't have that
That's the name of the song. Oh. And then there's the other line off of Shape of You. And it was going well initially, and then there's the line about him going out to like a Chinese restaurant and talking about, we'll talk for hours and hours about the sweet and sour. It's just like...
Yeah, it just like, every time he said one of those, I just felt myself like hurt inside. And he has a great voice, like he has great diction, like you can hear exactly what he's saying all the time, which just makes this worse. It's just,
What about the bleached arsehole line on New Man?
Oh, I'm not recalling.
He talks about mentioning that is an action that the New Man participates in, and
okay,
the echoes.
Kanye West.
Yeah, the echoes of "Bother to Stretch My Hands" are still staying on said T-shirt. So it's just like a T-shirt of my heart. It's just something that I'm uncomfortable hearing from someone like Ed. So it's just like, oh.
Yeah, just like lyrics are like a 0 out of 10 on this. Like,
well, I mean, I think there are a few tracks where it works lyrically. Like I said before.
Like last song?
Last song, debatably Eraser, kind of Castle on a Hill, which, I mean, conveniently, those are also the best songs. But it's just, Ed needs to get a grip. Because in the past, like, there was the A-Team, which was this sappy, like, ballad about like self-destruction, but it felt like it was actually coming from a place of like seriousness.
When I was 6 years old, I broke my leg.
But anyways, it's just like the whole point with this album, Ed has lost control. I mean, not necessarily lost control and like he's gone mad, but lost control over his own sound and his own dictation.
Yeah,
to
like
his music.
this is an album that's barely made by him. Like you can tell.
this is
he probably wrote like the chord progressions in like maybe he didn't even write those.
Yeah, and so I feel like he has a really curious place in pop music because he has a lot of potential, but he's squandering nearly all of it when he just allows it to go to the dogs.
I wonder. Like we'll see if he breaks out or anything, but I try not to expect too much from like pop artists like him because it's just.
So I feel like we're running low on time here. So
Yep.
let's give our final verdicts. My final verdict has got to be, this is being generous, a 50 out of 100. My favorite tracks, definitely favorite track, Castle on a Hill, and then followed by Supermarket Flowers. But everything after that sort of is either iffy or bad. So what was your verdict?
My verdict is a 42 out of 100. I couldn't think of any favorite tracks I had on here because I frankly didn't enjoy any of them enough to remember them. Not that that's like not the saying that I just wasn't feeling this album either.
That's fair. I mean, I felt parts of it, but as a whole, I feel like this is just muck.
All right.
Okay, so this marks the end of episode 2. We will see you next time. Ciao.